What is the best bike for commuting? Now here I have 4 bikes that I have used to commute over the last 5 years, and I'm going to go over these bikes and other bikes, the type of bikes you can use for commuting, and lots of different points and what is good for what situation. It is very information heavy, so grab your notebook. There'll be something in this video for you if you commute already or if you're thinking about commuting by bike. So let's jump straight in and take a look at the bikes that I actually have here. So first up, I have a road bike. Now, not all road bikes are made the same. This is an adventure road bike. This has more relaxed geometry than, say, something they would use in the Tour de France. So we've got drop bars, the bars that come down, so you can go on the drops here, or you can also go on the tops. Bike number 2 we have behind is my beloved Pearly. This is an old vintage road bike. Now this is 1987, and what a lot of people do is they sort of modernise these and they use these to commute. This has a steel frame, which is very different to my road bike, which is a carbon frame. Road bikes are often aluminium as well. You'd probably commute on an aluminium road bike, but this steel frame is solid. I mean, 1987, it's still going strong. Now, a lot of people have these as a fixed speed as well, so just one gear. More on gearing and that sort of information later in the video. Next up, we have a gravel bike. Now, on the surface, this looks very much like the road bike. However, it is different. The geometry is different. The tyres that you can have on it is different, and tyres are super important, and we'll talk about that later in the video. So this is basically a more relaxed road bike that's more comfortable because you can get bigger tyres. Next up, we have I'm going to put this into the small wheel folding bike category. You got your Bromptons. This is a Chinese e-bike and it folds in the middle, 14-inch wheels. So this is a very different type of bike to the others that I have here, but I'm kind of categorizing all of those in the same category, although electric versus non-electric is a big difference as well. But that depends on your ability, more on that later in the video as well. Other bikes that we don't actually have here, mountain bikes or hardtails, let's say. So just suspension at the front. That if you're going more off-road maybe, but in my opinion, if you're commuting, you're going to go the cleanest and sort of quickest route, which for me would be road or gravel. We also don't have a hybrid bike here. I did have a hybrid for 2 years and I ended up getting rid of the hybrid because I think the gravel bike is better than the hybrid, and they're very similar. If you get a very relaxed geometry gravel bike, it's very similar to a hybrid bike, and you're more efficient on the drops than you are on wide bars. Especially through traffic, you've got wider bars on a hybrid bike, whereas you can get nice narrow bars on a gravel bike, for example. Now they are the types of bikes. Now not all of them are the same. Like I said, you can get very different types of road bike or different types of folding bikes, maybe electrified. So let's talk about gearing. Now gearing is relevant for all the bikes, right? So any type of bike you have will likely have some sort of gearing, or it may be a fixed gear. Now gearing, for example, on a gravel bike, on here for example, let's drag this out, we have a 1x11 I think, or a 1x10. So I have 10 gears at the back and we've just got 1 gear at the front. So what that means is we have 10 different gears to choose from. Now if you compare that to the e-bike or something like this, in my case this is a folding little e-bike, this just has 1 gear because it has a battery, okay? So when we move to the road bike, we have even more gears available. So we've got 2 gears at the front, 11 gears at the back, so we have 22 gears in total. How many gears do you need? Well, in my opinion, you can never have enough gears because when you're going uphill, you'll always need more than you probably think. But I would say the road bike or the gravel bike, 10, 16 gears, it depends, but have a look and think about what can work for you. One thing with the folding e-bikes, they have a single gear. If you run out of battery, you are going to struggle to pedal. So bear that in mind. Some of the little e-bikes have gears, some don't. If they don't, when you run out of battery, have fun riding uphill. Brakes. Now, I'll be honest, you get different types of brakes, but what I would go for if you are commuting is a disc brake. This is because it is good in all weathers. You get consistent braking, rain or shine. If you are commuting on a bike, chances are you're going to get caught in a storm, right? Like most of us probably have. Or you might well do in the future if you're thinking about buying a bike. So, little e-bike, disc brake, gravel bike has disc brakes, road bike has disc brakes. The old steel bikes, now old bikes, they didn't have disc brakes then, so a lot of the older bikes like this will have rim brakes. Now, rim brakes aren't as good in the wet, don't get me wrong, they rode them for years. There's nothing wrong with them at all. People will make you think like they're really bad. When you look online, it's like disc or rim. They're both good. I just think disc is probably a bit more consistent in the wet. Next up, geometry. Now, road bikes. Everyone will have you think, or if you look online, they will say road bikes are really hunched over and it's going to ache your neck, it's going to hurt your back, and you're going to need a nice long 2-hour bath just to recover after every commute. That isn't the case. The thing is with road bikes, they are harder to set up correctly. It's harder to get your position correct. So what you have is people riding road bikes that are too big, you're too stretched out, your neck's going to hurt. It's rare that people ride bikes that are too small, they're normally too big, or your seat's too low, you're too hunched over, whatever it is. So road bikes are good and they are comfortable. That's why they use them in the Tour de France and they ride them for hours and hours a day. Yes, they're more flexible riders and they're athletes, but you can get a good position. So road bike, old vintage bikes that, like we said, maybe being converted to single speed. Gravel bike is similar, but the gravel bikes are normally more relaxed geometry. But again, you can get a more racy gravel bike and a relaxed road bike, and they may be very similar. Then you've obviously got the smaller sort of 14 or 16 inch wheels, your Bromptons, your little e-bikes, your folding bikes. They are obviously very comfy because you're just sat upright. Now, I say they're very comfy, that's fine for 2-3 miles sat on that seat. But what happens is, if you sat on that seat for 10 miles, you would feel all of the vibrations, all the bumps going up through your spine because you're sat down. What these bikes do, the road bike and the gravel bike, is they put weight through your arms and weight through your bum. So basically you're more balanced rather than having all your weight going through your spine. So it's just a matter of preference on geometry. I think personally, if you can physically and you have the flexibility, then a nice relaxed sort of gravel bike is a good geometry. You can get comfortable quite easy on that sort of bike. Distance versus ability. Now, how, let's say, fit you are or how far you can ride may affect the type of bike that you get. Now, for example, riding a road bike 10 miles is easier than riding something like a gravel bike or a hybrid bike 10 miles because it's more efficient, so you can go further. So if you are, let's say, less fit or you're not so active, then something that's more efficient is actually better. Or if you have an injury, for example, or you've never ridden before in your life and you're looking to jump on the bike, then maybe an e-bike is good because it gives you some assistance and it lets you build your power up. What I found with commuting, or what I hear of people commuting, is you start riding, say you commute 3-4 miles each way, so 8 miles a day. You do that for 4 or 5 months and that quickly becomes very easy. So you do get used to it and your ability improves. But this wouldn't be fair to do this video and not mention that the ability of the rider does play a part in what bike is good for commuting. You want to make your life easy, peeps. You want to get to work and you want to kind of be relaxed and not like absolutely gassed, which is quite easily done, and I've done that before. Comfort comes in many different forms. You've got mountain bike that has suspension, obviously very comfortable. It's going to take a lot of the bumps out of the road. You then have something like the gravel bike, which has wider tyres. Now, tyre width is a key factor in all of this. On road bikes, your tyre width is max 28 mil, 30 mil, probably 28 is your max, right? Now, on a gravel bike, for example, you can often get 45s, 43 mils, 42 mils in there, right? So much, much wider. On the little e-bikes, they tend to have wider wheels. So because they're 14 inch, they have smaller wheels but wider wheels. Now, why is this important? A wider wheel, you can run at a lower pressure, and a lower pressure absorbs more bumps. So for something like the gravel bike, your pressure in your tyres can be around 35-40 psi. And that means you're going to absorb a lot of bumps because of a nice 40 mil wide tyre. On the other hand, the road bike, I've got 25 mil tyres. They're pumped up to around 80 psi, 85 psi. You're going to feel a lot more bumps in these wheels. Same with old vintage bikes. They don't have the tyre clearance. They have narrow tyre clearance. So you're going to get 25 mils on your older vintage bikes. And that is going to be a hard ride as well. Again, that's only relevant if you don't have lovely smooth tarmac, if you've got bumpy roads like London roads, like I've commuted on. To add to that, you've got your mountain bikes. Again, they're just super, super comfy, but it's not as efficient. So there's always a sort of toss up, comfort versus speed and efficiency. Let's talk about carrying stuff on your bike. Now, when you're commuting, the likelihood of you needing to carry stuff is pretty high. Your laptop, change of clothes, shoes, whatever it may be, you need to get it on the bike. You've got two options, right? You put it on your back like a Ninja Turtle, or you put it on the bike, either on some panniers or a rack or something like that. Now, gravel bikes, designed to carry loads, right? They're designed to go through gravel into the forest. You've got mounts normally all over that allows you to put a rack on the back. So then you can just put panniers onto the rack or strap your bag on or whatever it may be, however you want to do it. Now the road bikes, on the other hand, they're not really designed to carry like heavy loads. They're just designed to carry you. So on the road bike, you're going to be the Ninja Turtle, you're going to have your rucksack on. Nicer to carry it on a pannier, I must admit it's easier, but it's a consideration nonetheless, and it's one that people often overlook. It's the same for your Bromptons and your smaller e-bikes as well. You can get bags and things with them, but the reality is if you need to carry a lot of stuff, it's going to go in a rucksack. They're not designed to carry big, heavier loads. The type of commute you are doing is also relevant. Now, up to this point, I've assumed that you're going to be riding the whole way. Now, if you need to get the train, then that changes everything, because maybe your commute is 30 miles, but you can ride to the station one side, which is 10 minutes, and you can ride to your office the other side, which is another 15-20 minutes, for example. In that case, you're going to want something small, something light, something you can get on the train, and you're going to want to have something that folds, so you can just fold it on the platform, put it on the train, unfold it the other side. That is where these bikes come into their own. That is where your Bromptons come into their own. Bromptons are really good because they're really light. If you've got an e-bike like this, the Wingu, it's very, very good, and it allows you to travel 3, 4, 5, 6 mile journeys easily, but it's heavy. So you have to lift this, and maybe you don't want to be lifting it up onto a train. It's about 15 kilos, around that sort of area. They're all very similar. So when you are sat in your office chair and you have ridden into work, where is your bike? You need somewhere to store or lock your bike. Now, the more expensive your bike is, the more chance it has of being stolen. I would not lock my road bike up in London. It will get nicked, it's a target. Anything that's over 500 quid, anything that's over £1,000 is a target, okay? So if you have bike storage at work, brilliant. You can just put your bike in the storage. It doesn't matter how much your bike costs. If you don't, I would say something like the older restored bikes are quite good. One, they're very robust. Two, they're very old, so they have less value. Well, some of them are valuable, but in general, as a general rule, they're less valuable. So something like that can be really good, because if it gets stolen, it's not the end of the world. It's a bad day, but you haven't just lost like £1,000 or £2,000 as you would on a road bike. Obviously, little e-bikes are a target, but I would recommend getting a folding one and just bringing it into your office. That's what I would personally do. So, versatility. Road bike, can use it any day of the week. You can ride wherever you want. You can get fitness from it. You can ride further. Little e-bikes, you can ride to the shop. They're versatile as well. Same with gravel bikes. Now, if you think there is a chance that you will get into cycling as a fitness, as a hobby, as I did, I didn't think I would, but here I am with too many bikes in my little bike garage, then consider that, because I would say road bike is a clear winner in that sense. Or maybe you're a mountain biker or hardtail, you want to go more off-road, or you live near a forest, or you're out in the sticks, then maybe a gravel bike is perfect. You can ride through all of the tracks, through forests, and it is a factor, and it does quickly become a thing. Now, if you're spending £500 to £1,000, which is probably what you're gonna spend on a decent-ish road bike or gravel bike that's second-hand. But for that sort of money, you might as well get the most use from it. And that means deciding what your environment is and what bike suits your environment, as well as commuting. There is a massive difference in cost for a lot of these bikes. Now, a folding e-bike like this Wingu is gonna set you back around £400. Gravel bike I bought second-hand on eBay, that was between £500 and £1,000, I'm not sure exactly. Same for the road bike, upwards towards £1,000. Old vintage bike, £200-300, but I've done a lot of the restoration. So with that, you have to be willing to have that outlay. Now bear in mind, every journey you do on the bike, you save money. So if it costs you £4 a day to commute, then you're saving that money each day. So it's only so long before you recuperate the money. Now, to add to that, you have maintenance. Simpler bikes are simpler to maintain, they cost less to maintain. A road bike like this, the more advanced a road bike gets, the better the parts, the more expensive parts are to replace. Older vintage bikes, super solid, super strong. If they break, it's normally a simple fix. You can get older parts second hand. It's cheaper, right? Especially if you go fixed gear, you've just got one gear to maintain. E-bikes, maintenance, again, they could go wrong if you have an electrical fault. Electrical faults are always difficult because they just are, they're hard to diagnose. With older bikes, it's like, okay, that's snapped, I know I need to replace that. Electrical is different. Gravel bike is similar, but it's a bit more robust. It's designed to take the punishment. Mountain bikes, again, they're designed to take the hits, but the costs are going to vary. So just think about that cost of your commute versus cost of the bike and how much you can recuperate and how much it's going to cost to maintain. So I hope you found this video useful. Now, if you did find some good info, then drop this video a like. It helps it do well in the YouTube algorithm. Comment below any questions that you have. But yeah, I appreciate all your support and feedback. I'm a one-man band trying to grow the channel and helping you guys commute, or what bike to use to commute. So until the next one, take care peeps. Go and buy your bike. You'll love it, whatever choice you make. Don't stay in limbo, just go for it. You won't regret it.